he knows crazy stuff about me that like stuff that I haven't talked about in 20 years.
Wow.
You know, I'm telling my son
Yeah.
because now he's going through something where he needs my story.
First and foremost, let's bring it back to your childhood. What was your relationship like with your father?
My relationship with my dad, and that's a deep question for it to be the first question. Me and my dad had a good relationship. We was cool. Like, it's very my dad was very quiet. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of dads, you know, they don't talk much. You know, they pop in and out. They're there for like basketball and you know what I mean. Those parts of your life. My dad's an entrepreneur. He's always been about business. So like, since I can remember, he's always been talking about business and money. You know what I mean? So it's like there were very few like conversations about life. You know what I mean? It's more just like, even as I'm an adult, me and my dad talk about business all the time.
That's dope.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's our relationship. Yeah.
That's awesome. Where were you in your life when you became a father?
I was trying to make it as a videographer at the time, and I was broke, and it was tough. And found out my girlfriend was pregnant at the time, and we were gonna have a boy. And I remember just being excited about it, but at the same time stressing and trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, what's next. And it was just like I was just on a hustle, you know.
Yeah,
so
man.
yeah.
So you were making music, but primarily a videographer, or you weren't even making music yet?
I was making music, but not like as the primary focus, just
Okay.
because it was about trying to make money, you know?
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Take me through that process of making that decision to really step out as an artist with a kid on the way. Because obviously, you know, videographers make great money. It's usually somewhat steady, a lot more steady than that of an artist. So, like, what was that? Was there like a struggle, or was there a moment you were like, you know, this is where I'm headed? You know what I mean? Talk to me about that.
Well, at first I was just doing video. I was just like, you know, this is what I got to do. I'm stacking my money. I wasn't making money from music yet, you know, so I didn't really think about it much. I would drop music, I would put out music. So I was working a lot. I was doing videos and doing music, but I wasn't going to let go of my day job to just become an artist.
Right.
It wasn't until I think one day I looked at my account, my TuneCore account, because obviously I'm independent. So I don't think I'm making money from music, you know,
Right.
but I'm grinding. And I checked my TuneCore account, and I saw $8,000 in the account. And so I had not looked at it, not once. You
How
know?
long?
It was over like the course of like a year and a half,
Okay.
maybe a couple years.
Wow.
You know? So I saw that, and I saw opportunity. I was like, hold up. You know? I was like, hold up, there's actually money to be made from music. So then I shifted gears, and I went straight into music. Yeah.
That's brilliant, man. How has fatherhood impacted you as a man?
It's made me more responsible. Like, I'm not who I was before, you know? Like, I'm on top of my life, you know what I mean? Even the other day, somebody's like, oh, you don't smoke? Oh, you don't really drink either? It's like, I don't do these things, but just because I like to be present, you know? I like to be 100%.
Yeah.
I don't want to be at my best, you know?
Yes.
And when I wake up in the morning, it's not just about me. It's like, I have to know I have to get my son ready. I have to make sure he brushes his teeth, wash his face, get his clothes on. He's eating breakfast. And we have to leave at this certain time so that we can get to school on time.
Right.
I love it because it gives me structure, you know?
For me, also, I didn't realize this before I had kids, but I was super selfish. It was just like about me all the time, the things that I needed to get done. I wasn't really conscious of putting someone else before me because at that time, you know, that wasn't the case. Right. And then I had my son, and it was like, I have to make sure that they eat. I got to make sure that they get to places they need to go. I need to adjust my life, my schedule, my finances, my focus. All of those things then have to be centered around them. And then, you know, whatever is left of my time, energy, effort, whatever, then I get to kind of, you know, enjoy that part.
That last 2 hours of the day, right?
Straight up.
If you got that, yeah.
Word. What would you say is the biggest lesson fatherhood taught you?
Life gets better when you think about other people, you know, when you put other people first. You know, it just does, man. You have to you stop looking inward. You don't have to look inward all the time. Sometimes it's good to reflect inward, but looking into the world and being present in the world and noticing everything and notice where you can help, you know, it gives you riches that can't be taken away, you know.
That's brilliant, man. So what would you say, if any, would be your biggest fatherhood failure?
Sometimes I think about my son and when I was coming up and when I was just really like on the road and trying to make stuff work and whatever. I think about the times that I was there, which was a lot of times, and I think about I could have even been more present in those moments, you know. There's a lot of moments
Moments where you were
yeah,
there,
moments where I was
you could
there.
have been more present.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a bar.
yeah. I feel like I should have read him that book. You know, I should have read him that extra book. You know what I mean? When he wanted to read one more, you know?
Yeah.
And this stuff that really gets to me. And just I should have did more. When he asked me, Daddy, can we go to the park today? I should have just been like, hell yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah. And that's why now I take him to the park every day if he asks.
Right.
Whatever. We always got something planned because I will not like let him miss out on something that'll bring him joy. So like every day I want to do something that makes you happy. You know what I mean? Even if it's 30 minutes to an hour or whatever, we can do something every day that's just for you, you know? So what don't you like about me? What's the thing you don't like about me?
I don't really. I love everything about you, but I guess I have nothing to say about that question.
You don't have anything to say about that question?
No.
So you love everything about me? I love everything about you, big boy.
How would you describe your relationship with your son?
I call him one of my best friends because it's just like the relationship is like that. We got each other's back. Even he has my back when he's in rooms that I'm not in, you know? And some like you can't say anything bad about me. You feel me?
I love that.
And for me, it's the same with him. It's like you can't say anything bad about my son. So I'll catch my mother. She'll call him a brat or something. I'm like, nah, you're not just going. You know what I mean? So like, we just love each other like so much, and we hug and I kiss him on his forehead every day before he goes into school. He's not embarrassed yet, you know.
Nice, good.
We just have this super close relationship, and I love it, especially being a father to a son, you know. I think it's important, you know, like that we have that loving connection, and it's not all macho and everything, like, you know. We're open with each other. I apologize to him when I feel like I've done wrong. He tells me when he thinks I've done wrong. He's like, yo, I don't think you should have did that.
Wow.
I think you need to apologize to me. You know what I mean? So I love that it's just that open. I want to talk to him about everything. I just make sure he tells me stuff that's uncomfortable. You know, he comes from school and he'll open up about something that he didn't like. You know, and he's like, yo, I'm just telling you. So don't tell anybody else because I'm just telling you. And I'm like, yeah.
I feel like there was so many times where I was like, you can tell me anything. And then I found something that they didn't tell me. Mm-hmm. And, we chopped it up about it. I never like flipped out. I'm like, yo, next time just tell me first so that I can help you. Eventually they caught it. And then they started to really share, things ahead of time or things that were on their heart. But your son is how old?
He's 6.
So how do you build that communication to where not only does he trust you with keeping secrets, but he talks to you openly about it without you prompting?
I think it's just making sure you're always talking to your kid and not judging them, you know? Like if they know that if they know that them talking to you is gonna lead to judgment, then it's gonna close the communication right there.
Brilliant.
You know?
Absolutely.
So like just chat with them. Instead of having a response to everything, just ask more questions, you know? It's like let them talk, let them get it all out, you know? And if you want them to come to a certain conclusion, then try to talk them into that conclusion rather than, cutting it off, well, you should have did this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or you should have did that.
That's
you
dope.
know? So like I said, me and my son will just talk. And he'll say something and I'll just be like, why you did that? Oh, okay. So what she said? You know what I mean? So it's like we're more having a conversation.
Right.
It's more like a 6-year-old having a conversation with another 6-year-old, or like how we have conversations. We just trying to see what it's all about.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like I want to know what's going on in your mind. Like I want to know, your thought process while you're going through your day. Rather than trying to parent you all the time.
Right.
You know?
Does he know something about you he feels like the world doesn't know?
Of course. He knows a whole, like I tell him all the time. Every time he goes through something, I have something for him. You know what I mean? I every time you feel embarrassed, guess what? I've been there too. So it's just like, and he'll ask me, he'll be like, what you went through that was embarrassing too? You know what I mean? Because he wants to feel that connection. You know, he wants to. People want to feel like they're not alone. You know, and kids are no different. So he knows crazy stuff about me that like stuff that I haven't talked about in 20 years. Wow. You know, I'm telling my son because now he's going through something where he needs my story. You know, he needs me to tell him this story so he can feel like, okay, so it's not just happening to me.
Word. So your name is Kota the Friend. Friends are some of the most influential people in not only our lives but our children's lives. So how are you helping him navigate friendships?
Ooh, it's a tough one because I'm trying right now. Like I watch him. He has friends. I feel like he just made his real group of friends that he could keep, you know, throughout elementary school and stuff like that. And so, he used to he'll come home and he'll have problems. He'll be like, Dad, like my friend did this and I don't like him. I'm not gonna talk to him anymore. I'm like, whoa, let's talk about this. You know what I mean? Because like you don't just do that to friends, you know. So it's like. I want to really get in his head that, you know, your friends are going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that your friends don't like. Your friends are going to do things that you don't like. But there's certain principles that come along with being a friend. That if people are occupying your life in certain ways, then you should not just like toss them to the side. You have to be very careful with them, because it's like, all right, if they got your back, if they stand up for you, if they're by your side through hard times, and you know they're there confronting you when everybody else is against you, then that's a friend. You can't treat them like everybody else in the street. They're not like everybody else in the street. So it's like really telling him how to treat his friends, especially when they have that strong sense of self. You got to teach them how to you got to manage that. Right. You know? Yeah.
On the next episode of the Rap Dads Show,
being at my house with my wife, actually breaking down the first hour after we brought Charlie home because he was crying and we didn't know what to do.